Hello and welcome back to my basement. This is Jeremiah Wolf. And I got another viewer question today, and this one is Hey Jeremiah, this is going off tangent a bit, but I know you've mentioned in the past you spent some time learning about how the brain works. What do you think about self talk and using it to reprogram your brain for whatever, e.g., help with procrastination, having a positive mindset, anxiety, etc.? Would love to see a video of this if you have the time. By the way, love this video. Thanks. Well, I forget which video this was left on, but thank you. And just to clarify, I have not really studied the brain. I have studied the mind, and they are two very different things. The mind is sort of comes up out of the brain. It is a emergent property of the brain. Emergence is a fascinating phenomenon and seems to most likely be the best explanation for intelligence or consciousness. So, self talk. Well, first off, what is self talk? And then we'll get into can it help you. And I will say that I actually, in my online anxiety course, which I no longer sell, but I used to sell, I spent 2 or 3 hours just on this topic. So I am not going to go into that much detail for this. I'm actually going to try to keep this relatively short. But self talk is just that, it's talking to yourself. A lot of people call it affirmations. Affirmations is a subset of self talk. Self talk is a superset of affirmations. Um, so, can it help? Well, I'm just going to be straight with you and say the short answer is no. And the reason that I say that is because to do it right is actually pretty complicated and a little bit time consuming. A little bit time consuming. And in my experience, just being honest, very, very few people are willing to put forth the time and effort to do it right. So, because of that, my default answer is always no, self talk does not help. However, if you're willing to put in the time and effort, yes, it can help. But again, it's a little bit complicated. And, if you look at this online, what you'll probably see is if you do a search on YouTube, you'll come across a 5 minute or 10 minute video where someone will teach you how to do affirmations in 5 minutes, and that is almost always garbage that does nothing. Um, but we will talk about it just very briefly here, and I'll give you some tips on how to do some self talk that's actually going to help. Now, the first type of self talk that really, really does help and does not require a lot of training is simply what I'll call troubleshooting talk. And that's literally just talking through a problem with yourself. And what I think is happening, and I don't know because, again, I have not studied the brain, I have studied the mind. My hunch is that when you offload some of the processing to your sort of verbal centers of the brain, you're actually freeing up some of that sort of concentration and thought parts of the brain. So it actually helps you to walk through things. It also could be just the way that we process information. Saying it out loud and hearing it in our ears might actually kind of trick our brain into thinking we're getting a new perspective. I don't know about that, but I will say that talking through things out loud really, really does help. Like, absolutely. In fact, one of my biggest frustrations when taking certification exams is you're not allowed to talk. And I have found that for me, being able to talk through a problem out loud makes a huge difference, just a massive difference. Makes me drastically more efficient and much more capable of problem solving. So I regularly talk out loud to myself through my problems. Even back in the day when I shared a little cube farm with people where there was we had like this little court, I don't know what you call it. It was like 4 cubes. We all kind of faced outward, so the intersection was all open, so we could just turn around and all talk to each other. I loved it. It was really nice. But even then, when there was people sitting next to me, I would just sit there and mumble to myself, okay, we got this and then we got that. So this is doing this and this is okay, well, that means I need to have this configured. Where is that? Let's look through the config. Where is it? So talking to myself, and I do it when I'm studying all the time. Talk through problems. That really does work. I can't tell you why. I cannot tell you why, but that form of self-talk works. Now, that's not the form of self-talk you were talking about. You were talking about what is more likely to be called affirmations. This is where you kind of hype yourself up. You say positive things to get your thoughts focused on being positive and to motivate yourself. And the problem with a lot of those sort of affirmation types of self-talk is that they are unrealistic. So when you say something and your brain hears it, your subconscious mind hears it, if it is too far removed from your current worldview, if it's too far removed from the way that your subconscious mind views you, then it will be rejected. And it doesn't matter how many times you say it, it will be rejected. So if you, on a deep internal level, which might be completely outside of your own conscious awareness, this is one of those things about conscious and subconscious minds. So many of our subconscious thoughts and beliefs about ourself are unknown to us. We're not even aware of how we think about ourselves on a subconscious level. And it's important because those subconscious beliefs about ourselves are drastically more powerful than the conscious beliefs we have about ourselves. But again, I don't have time in this little video to talk about the different layers of the conscious and subconscious and how big they are and what their roles are. I literally had a 16-hour course that I taught about all this stuff. So I can't do it in a 15-minute video, but I will do my best. So you have these subconscious beliefs, and many of them are negative. And that's, usually what I was working with my clients with is these negative beliefs, which often lead to anxiety. And if you present a self-talk that is too far removed, so let's say that you, because of the way you grew up, the environment that you were in, the people who were around you, the experiences you had, you believe yourself to be poor, okay, financially poor. And there's just this deep down belief that you will always work hard but never get ahead. You don't think that consciously. Consciously, you think, I'm going to work hard and I'm going to achieve things and I'm going to experience success. But again, your subconscious beliefs are often unknown to you. But deep down, you might have this belief that you're the type of person who always works hard but never gets ahead. And maybe it's because you saw a lot of that growing up. Maybe that was your family. Again, this is just I'm just pulling this out of my ass. So if you stand in front of the mirror and say, I am a successful person and I am a millionaire, which a lot of these affirmations, they tell you to be bigger than life. I'm a multi-millionaire and I get to travel the world in my private jet. I don't know. I'm being exact. I'm obviously being hyperbolic. But even if you just said, I'm a successful engineer. I'm a successful engineer. Well, if that's too far removed from what your subconscious believes about yourself, it's going to just throw it out. Just throw it out. And it's going to have no impact. So how do we use self-talk to have an impact? Well, the first thing is we have to start to learn what those subconscious thoughts are, the ones that are generally outside of our consciousness. And the only way to do that is to I don't have a small notebook with me, but get a notebook, preferably like a little pocket one, and keep it with you. And whenever you have a negative thought, specifically a negative thought about your goal, so if your goal is to be more successful in your career, whenever you have a negative thought, whip out that notebook and write it down. And oftentimes these thoughts are going to be fleeting. They might just pop into your head and disappear. So you got to be, it's a little bit of a learned behavior to be able to recognize the thought and then write it down. So you might just find yourself one day having the thought, maybe you're sitting there studying, and it just pops into your head. This is such a waste of time. That's it. This is just such a waste of time. And you just go on studying. No, you stop, you write that down. You take those negative thoughts that you have, keep track of them. You're going to find patterns. You're going to find thoughts that are more powerful than others. And what I recommend doing is finding some low-hanging fruit. So find some thoughts that aren't very negative, that they're just a little negative, and that are probably easy to change. You're going to then create your positive affirmation based on that thought. So instead of something like, this is such a waste of time, you might come up with what would it be? It takes time and effort and practice to kind of, refine your affirmations, your positive self-talk. But what could it be? So this is a waste of time. And you could just say something simple like, time spent studying is a small investment in my future. It's a factual statement. It's not making any grand promises. And it's keeping it minimal. It's a small investment in my future. Or the time I spend studying today, or something like, I choose to spend time studying because it is a small investment in my future. So that's, and you kind of say it and notice how you feel. Like when you say it out loud, you just feel like, no, that's not right. No, I can't accept that. Or you feel like, okay, yeah, actually that feels right. And you're going to take that, you're going to use that affirmation, and I recommend doing it in the morning and then again in the evening before bed. Just say it a few times to yourself. And the key to any of these affirmations is always to, as much as possible, feel the emotion connected with it. So take a deep breath, go inside, and allow yourself to feel that sense of investing in yourself. It feels good. It's not super powerful. It's methodical. It's analytical. But you know what? It feels good. It feels good to just take 30 minutes or an hour in the evening and invest that into my future. I don't know what the outcome's going to be, but I'm going to make this investment in my future. And that can, okay, that feels good. So that's kind of how to do it. I realize it's a huge topic, and there's whole books about it out there, but I tend to be very suspect about a lot of these things because you really do need to do it right. And in my mind, the key is to first identify the negative thoughts, this negative subconscious thoughts. And that's another skill. And there's other skills that kind of lead up to it. It's a whole thing. But once you kind of, recording these thoughts, use the affirmations, use those thoughts specifically to create positive affirmations, and always start with the low-hanging fruit, because once you start to see a little bit of progress, it's easier to then take on the bigger negative thoughts. But if you start right with the big one, and you might just get stuck, and then you're going to quit and whatever. So those are my thoughts on self-talk. I hope you found it helpful. Let me know in the comments. As always, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. This is Jeremiah. I'll see you in the next one.